Keep your ears open for this one. You got a question for RLN? Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Now we get real. Yeah, it's time to get down. Yeah, you know real good now. Real good. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I've got to click this button, tap that button until I have until I have a producer in here. It's all me. Hold on, let me just go over here. Yes, I'm live. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I am your host, happiness specialist, global happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, oracle, but most importantly, just like you, a student, a seeker. What is it all about, Alfie? Just what are the answers here on this journey? And when I shared the story, I have a lot of new listeners and new followers, and welcome. But I shared the story when I was younger. You remember blowing out the candles on your birthday cake and making a wish? Well, I always wished for the same two things when I was in my teens, when I was in my 20s. I'm 68 now. Don't tell anybody. 68. Oh my gosh. Please don't tell anybody. I wish for the same two things. I wanted to live to my potential. I had no idea what that meant. I had no clear-cut goal. I just said I want to live to my potential. And then the second thing I always wished for was I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be happy. And just like most programmed people, and I use that very freely. I was programmed and am still programmed. It's getting to seeking, finding, and eliminating the programs. But like most programmed people, I believe that this happiness came with achievements, or this happiness came from finding Mr. Right, or this happiness came from titles after my name, or traveling, you name it. It had nothing to do with any kind of inner work. It had nothing to do with looking in the mirror for answers. So much to my chagrin and I found that this happiness is more than just a brief feeling. And in fact, I just want to throw this out. This is a story that I wanted to share. Everyone knows who well, not everybody, but Jim Carrey, the famous comedian. He was discovered on In Living Color, and he was the guy who used to live in his car, and he had this, this note that one of these days I'll be a star making millions of dollars. And sure enough, he's known globally. He's a comedian, and he has a little spirituality to him. And he posted the other day, happiness equals giving. That's what he posted. Happiness means equals giving. Well, that's just not true. Because what happens after you've given? What happens in that moment? Okay, so you've given. And let me scratch that. Let me say, scratch that. That's not true. Let me take that back. That's not what I'm talking about. How's that? That's not the happiness I'm talking about. When I say happiness, I'm talking about a personal energy, a personal vibration of contentment. You can feel it, a personal vibration of ease and balance, and feeling relaxed, and having an energy of satisfaction in all present moments, being satisfied and accepting the present moments without wanting more. So in a nutshell, thank you for asking me to sum it up. In a nutshell, happiness is the ability to vibrate an energy of peace regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen. It is living practicing staying, living in a state of neutrality where life and life happens, and the challenges of life, the ups and downs of life will have nothing to do with my vibration, will have nothing to do with my energy. My energy remains set, just like a thermostat. But I digress. Let me just get back into the introduction. So I already defined happiness for it. Oh, and if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619, and then press the number 1. And I'm also live on YouTube if you want to see me. On my YouTube channel, Rebecca Norrington. And if you are listening on the Noom Vibe app, you know how to ask to come to the stage, and all are welcome, especially people that have a different perspective. I welcome different ideas and different perspectives, especially now. I always get, and if I always get it, so do you. I always get what I need in every moment. And the universe has been throwing these teachers at me, these teachers, these people, these people with information. They've just taken me to another level. And when I talk about levels, spiritual levels, if you well, I'm not a baseball fan, but I do know you start baseball, T-ball, the kids start with the ball on the stick, and then you graduate to, I don't know, a little pee-wee ball, T-ball, pee-wee ball, and then you play in high school and college. And then if you're picked up by the pros, there's different types of camps. You just don't go from high school to college to be a professional. Even baseball has different camps. A, B, and C camp. And it's the same thing. This is my perspective. It's the same thing with this growth, with this spiritual growth, with growing, with expanding. It's just a different stage. And I'll tell you, I thought I was at the end. I thought I thought I was at one of the top stairs. I mean, climbing to another level of understanding and awareness and consciousness. And then the universe hits me with 2 more people. One of them is Moji. And if you haven't, because I've been talking about him for the last few months, if you haven't looked at any of his YouTubes, his name is spelled Mooji. And the videos that I'm looking at are 7 years, 8 years, 4 years old. I could have had this knowledge 4 years ago, the ego says. But this man, you can, as soon as you hear him speak, his energy, you can feel it even online, and his calmness, and his main point is this. The main point is, when you say I, my, who are you talking about? Who are you referring to? Who are you identifying with? And his point is, a person. Are you identifying with your person, or are you identifying with your higher self, which is consciousness, which is just awareness? And he even says, when you get there, it's don't expect a parade. Don't expect trumpets. It's empty. There's nothing there. There's nothing to be described or explained. How boring is that? No, that was a bad spiritual joke. When I say how boring it is, but that's really the point of getting to a place of feeling or experiencing this nothingness without the ego's stories. Now, I say ego, you can call it the mind, you could call it the person, whatever you want to call it. But you know what I'm talking about, this incessant entity that will not shut the F up. And that's what we're talking about today when I say the stories, because it is the stories. It is the stories that are the downfall, scratch the downfall. It is the stories that subtract from peace. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you my own examples. Because if you've listened, you know I don't like to say we. Because I, I, I don't know about anybody else but me. And just being open to sharing what I'm experiencing. And if I can do it, and if I'm experiencing, I know that you've experienced it too. We are more alike. We are the same. Oh gosh, please. We're the same under all of this, under all of the skin. Again, the number to speak with me live is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619, and press the number 1. And if you are on Numer Vibe, just ask to join the just join the stage. All right. So here we go. Let me go back to my first example when I say eliminate the stories. And I realize that this is radical. It is a radical way to live. It's radical. It is a challenge. It's not easy. Oh, I forgot to mention the other person. Okay, so Moji is number 1. And his videos, I mean, talking about finding answers to the ultimate questions. I highly recommend him. And the other gentleman that the universe just dropped in my lap, it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago, maybe just a week ago. Billy Carson, Carson. And he was just interviewed on Joe Rogan, regardless of what you think about Joe Rogan. And in fact, the only issue I have with any people that are interviewers are you able to be quiet when the other person is speaking? Shut up when somebody else is speaking so I can hear them. Anyway, I digress into my humanness. But Billy Carson was just on the Joe Rogan show. And this gentleman is about to bust everything. Well, not about to, but he apparently has been around. I just found him a week ago. And he talks about the history of the Bible, the history of how man came into existence. And it is fascinating, to say the least, whether you buy into his theories and how the higher beings or aliens have visited us, and how do you think those pyramids got created or got made? Oh my gosh, it's just so much to comprehend. And the point is, when you remain open, scratch that, when I remain open and open to all information, I believe that the universe for me will sort everything out. But I'm just hit by a lot of different people that I'd never heard of a few months ago. Anyway, let's get to the topic, which is eliminating the stories, the importance of eliminating stories to find peace. I have cold water, and we're breaking records here in Vegas. We're breaking the heat records. I promised after I left Oregon, I said, I'll never complain about the heat again. So this is not a complaint, but we are breaking records. I think the last week it's been over around 110. So I'm having cold water. Tastes so good. Oh, back to the show. Let me give you an example of a story. I mentioned it earlier. Jim Carrey tweeted the other day that giving equals happiness. And my perspective, okay, so again, I'm not going to say that he's wrong, but my perspective is giving equals giving. There is a moment, Believe it or not, I've given I've given a couple of dollars. There is a vibration, there is an energy exchange when I give someone $20 just for no reason. And quite frankly, maybe about 3 months ago, there was a gentleman. I was at FedEx. And I couldn't find my wallet, and I needed this package delivered overnight. And of course, I was there at the deadline. And a perfect stranger just paid for my FedEx package. Of course, we exchanged numbers, but it was over $40. He just gave me $40. I'd never met him before. The point is, those types of exchange, those types of energy exchanges have real. I mean, I can feel the power. I can feel the power in giving, that energy of just open giving, gratitude, all of that. I can feel all of that. However, how does that sustain what I'm talking about when I say happiness? And again, happiness is an energy. It's a vibration of contentment. It is a vibration of satisfaction in all moments. But back to the story. So right there, the story that happiness equals giving, or giving equals happiness, that's a story. That's a program story. You follow me? Because that may not equal the same thing for every person. We're all as different as our fingerprints. And just because someone gets a feeling or has a feeling because of an action doesn't mean that everybody is going to feel that. It always comes back to the individual. Let me get to another story really quickly. I was looking at another person online, one of their videos, and he said that his last name, this is a story, here we go. His last name was a slave name. A slave name. And so he was saying, I'm thinking of changing it. I'm thinking of rebranding myself and changing my name because I found out it was a slave name. Now, that's a story that may or may not be true. And let's say it is true. So now this person has an attachment to a word, and this word or this name causes him to feel a certain way to the point of wanting to change it. That's how much power a story about a word has. You following me? Pay attention to your beliefs and your stories. So here we go. Let's see if let's see if I can dissect this. Wants to change his name because the name was a slave name. I contend that there is another level. There is another level that no words, no name is going to affect me or my vibration or my peace. And if a slave name has an effect, who's more powerful? The person that is affected by a name? I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying that that's a level. And there's a level higher than that where I'm not going to be a slave to a word. Because in my humble opinion, and it doesn't sound like I'm humble, I'm trying, I'm practicing this humble stuff. Some things I'm humble about, some things I'm not. Who's more powerful? The person that is affected by, bothered by, words, letters put together, and can have a feeling about a word. That's why, well, thank you for mentioning that. That's why my latest book, which is out on Amazon now, Amazon, Lulu, I believe Barnes and Noble, it's Kindle, ebook. It's out there. I'm holding it up on the YouTube channel. Programmed for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth. Program for Unhappiness. I love the cover. It's black and lime green. It's hot and a brain on it. Computer mojo. It is hot. It's a hot cover, if I must say so myself. But back to the programming. So one of the program behaviors, and I'm up to 55 program behaviors, and one of those behaviors is giving power to words. You give power to words because of a story that's surrounding the word. A story. So let's get back to this name. It's a slave name, and now I'm going to change it. So then that just tells me that there's going to be another word, whether it's a name, that has an ability to make you feel a certain way. And I say, and I practice, rise to another level, get to another level, climb to another level, walk to another level. That is not going to, that it doesn't, that there isn't going to be anything external that is going to make you feel any kind of way. Nothing external. It all comes from a story that is told so often that the belief comes in that the story is true. Have we ever dissected, scratch that, have you ever dissected your stories? I know it's difficult to let go of stories. It's very difficult because they're so justified, and they seem so right, and they're spot on. There can't be another reason. There's only this one story that I'm going to be clinging to forever. I contend that if you're believing that a word, a name is a slave name, you're going to be a slave to something else. So why not get to the root of the issue, the root of the challenge, and pull up the program and eliminate the program that words have power. Words innately do not have power. Energy has power. Words, you can't insult me and you can't compliment me. But thank you. Let me share another example of a story. Okay, this is a personal example. You're welcome. And again, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. Okay. Because I'm claiming I'm a happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, blah, blah, blah. I think I get picked on. I think I get the ultimate challenges, the ultimate lessons if I'm up here claiming to be a happiness specialist. Boy, let's see. Okay, thanks. And in 2 weeks ago, well, actually it's going to be 3 weeks on Wednesday, but on May the 22nd, if you've listened to the show, I had my right hip replaced. That's why I'm sitting down. I had my right hip replaced. I've been teaching fitness classes for 45 years, and I was one of those instructors, if you can't tell by the voice. And in fact, I never used a microphone. I was one of those instructors who, 500 on one leg. Let's go. No stopping. I was like Don Rickles, Joan Rivers. Either that's dating me. Either it's your cup of tea or not. I'm not one of those. Okay, let's try and get one more leg. Let's try and get more rep in. No, I'm up there yelling at you. In fact, And in fact, what a great time to share this story. It's a true story. This was years ago. This was back in the 80s or early 90s. No, it was the early 90s. That's what it was. Early 90s. Is I started teaching fitness classes in the 80s, in the early 80s. Remember, with the leg warmers and the rip and the flash dance. Oh, that was me. The maniac. Da 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 da. Maniac. She's a maniac. That was my theme song. Now I'm just a maniac. Period. Spiritual maniac. That's what I am now. And now I just teach the aerobic classes, the cardio classes from a chair. Thanks, universe, for the whole evolution. But I digress. But back to the story. So it was in the early 90s. And do you remember when oh, hold on. MC Hammer was popular. And so MC Hammer came into the gym. It was in downtown LA. It was an upscale gym, and I was one of the instructors. And MC Hammer came in with his entourage. With a group of guys, and I was teaching a high impact class. And this gentleman joined the class, and he was all muscular, and he had muscles on top of his muscles. Okay. So those are the kind of guys that I just love to I just love to challenge. Let's see what all those muscles. Let's see what you got. You couldn't have been more annoying. And so sure enough, when we finished he kept up with me with the cardio section, and then we started doing floor work. We started doing dips. If you know, dips are to tone up the triceps behind the biceps. So we were doing dips, and I was pretty strong. Dips and abs, and we did a few dips, and he stopped. He stopped and he started rubbing the back of his arm, and ooh, and I looked at him. I said, "All those muscles? You had to stop?" He didn't say anything to me. And then after that, we were on the floor doing ab work, doing crunches, and I was really strong with that too. And usually women are stronger with the abs than men. But anyway, so he couldn't keep up with me, and again, this was the early 90s. Again, he I was, hey, with all those muscles, I guess they're useless. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it wasn't kind, and it was, I was throwing some shade on him. I was ragging on him, like the professional athletes do. I was talking trash. That's what I was doing. Thank God I remember that term. I was talking trash. And then finally the poor guy gets up and walks out of the class. And one of the students said, "Do you know who that was?" I said, "No, I just know it was a guy with a lot of muscles that couldn't keep up with me." And she said, "That was Evander Holyfield." True story. True story. I can't wait to meet him again 40 years later. Anyway, how the hell did I get onto that story? I have no idea. I had no idea. How did I get on that story? Oh, fitness. Okay, yeah, okay. I don't even know how I got onto that story. Anyway, I just shared that story. Good. Next moment. Now I'm in the next moment. Now, going back to a story that is created by my ego. Let me give you an example. Having an issue with a family member or a friend, and having a conflict. How many of you had conflicts with family or friends or coworkers? Anybody out there that can relate? Maybe there's one or two of you. So I've had this conflict, and it hasn't really been talked about. It's one of these conflicts that you can feel it, but there's no discussion. And that's where the stories come in. That's where my ego comes in with the stories of what they're thinking or what they must be thinking, what I can say, what I should say, what I will say. So now I'm coming up with a story to have a future reaction or future comment, not reaction, a future comment. The stories, I don't know about you, but I wake up with stories and mindless chatter. And that is the topic of today's show. This being mindful of the endless stories and chatter. And who would you be? Who would you be without your stories? How much peace would you feel without the stories? How much peace would you feel if you just journeyed through this life, experiencing everything in the moment, whatever you're destined to experience, without attaching a story to it? A story as to why it happened, a story explaining your behavior, the other person's behavior, stories. And I know this world is addicted to telling stories, and to telling stories to the point of I will tell this story so often that I will, number one, believe the story, and number two, can only find one perspective. So let me share a story that I was listening to someone. In fact, I was listening to Billy Carson, one of his videos, and he was sharing because he's had these experiences with uh, some people would call them aliens, extraterrestrial, higher beings, whatever. He tells when he was younger, and I believe he had family. Yeah, he was married and he had children, and he all of a sudden saw this lavender. I don't know exactly everything that happened, but he had an experience where he said he was screaming and then all of a sudden it went away. So he had some connection with something from out of this dimension. Just like our guest last week, out of this dimension. And he told his John Davis, and he told his near death experience. Okay, so back to him. So then Billy Carson said that during that time, because of what happened to him and him sharing it, that some people thought he was crazy, and some people couldn't relate, didn't believe him, uh, ostracized him. It, you need to be committed. All of that. Not a lot of people, and quite frankly, I'm going to raise my hand too. Aliens and extraterrestrial. I wasn't into that stuff decades ago. I said, okay, those are little nutty people, and here I am. I guess I'm one of those nutty people now, and just being open to everything. If I'm open to and believe that people can be channeled. If you've listened to Esther from Abraham Hicks, David Anka, he channels Bashar. There's another gentleman that channels. I mean, they're getting channeled from not from people on this planet. Anyway, the point is, what was my point? Oh, the stories. So now in my head, I have all of this going, solving, explaining, analyzing. Can you relate to this? Solving, explaining, analyzing a story, ruminating, spending time in the story. All of it is food and fuel for my ego. It keeps me in a spot of being held captive by a story from an entity that isn't even me. I'm not my stories. I'm not my thoughts. And that's a difficult one, getting rid and letting go of the stories. It's not easy. So back to the whole family. I watch my ego take over, consume, consume the thoughts, consume the space, just all consuming. And I can watch my ego for hours with the same story, just going on and on and on. And I'm asking you, do you relate? And this is tough because I'm saying let go of the believing, thinking that these stories have any power or have any mm, direction of what's going to happen or what is happening or any any evidence of the truth. I've spent the majority of my life thinking that I knew why someone else was behaving a certain way, thinking that I knew that. I've spent the majority of my life defining me and I. And let me give you an example. Yesterday on my YouTube channel, the one of the gentlemen that is working with me, I asked him to. Oh, by the way, every Saturday, my son and I have a show. It's called Mother and Sense, Making Sense Out of Nonsense. Did I say sense? Mother and Son, Making Sense Out of Nonsense, plus more. And it's on live every Saturday at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time. But my point is, one of the shows we're having technical problems, and I asked for help because I'm just so backwards with tech. I'm just backwards. It's just not my thing. And I asked this gentleman to help me, and he created his own thumbnail for our show. And I've been using the same photo, and I don't know if I've been using the same photo for 25 episodes. And now all of a sudden, here we go. Here's the story. All of a sudden, I see on the YouTube channel a brand new thumbnail, bright yellow. The photos, my son's eyes are closed. I'm looking like a big blob of blur. There's these big bold letters. You can't see the whole title of the show. And instantly, here we go. Instantly, my identity, the Rebecca L. Norrington identity, instantly went into, that's not my brand. Now, that's not my branding. That's not the look that I want. That's all. And it was, when I say instant, and I want you to see if you can relate to this. Instantly, or it's called a trigger or a button. Instantly, I went into, that's not my brand. And I just went from zero. And when I say I'm talking about the ego. And it's a very, very mindful practice to differentiate between your higher self, your spiritual self, your awareness, and your humanness, and your person, and your ego, and your mind. And if you don't know the difference, if you can't, if when I say you don't know, and if you can't be aware of the difference, you have homework, because there is a difference. And so which entity am I going to feed? Because I'm watching this diva Rebecca Norrington getting, but that's not my brand. And here we go. Seatbelt time. You ready for this? You ready for this? This is the time when the universe God, source, higher power, whatever you want to call it, wants to experience its transcendness, it transcending. This is my perspective. The universe likes it is having a human experience through me and through you, is having a human experience through all of us, and wants all of it, not just what my ego prefers to have happen. And in that moment, here we go. This is horrible. I wanted to shut down. I did. I shut down the whole day yesterday. And the ego, no, universe loves the ride, loves the roller coaster of transcending. That is the time where I get to where my higher self takes over, and I'm just aware of this other entity that is resisting the moment and thinks that something else needs to happen. This moment is not right. There's something wrong with this moment. And the problem is, here we go. I designed it before this is what I believe. I wanted to experience all of this before I got here. I wanted to be bothered. I wanted to be triggered. I wanted to experience all of that so that I can, in that state, in that annoyed state, and I say annoyed, the ego's annoyed, I can transcend to another state of peace. Instead of living in that state, just staying there, having it just a stew of annoyance, anger, throw in whatever label you want, lower energy, throw in all of that. That's the time that the universe gets off, if you will, transcending the identity of the transcending from the person to the seer. What a homework assignment. Are you with me with this? Are you with me? Oh, hold on a second. I have someone. Yay, I have a guest. So are you with me with this? Are you getting what I'm saying? Welcome. Let's see. Who am I? Uh-oh, what happened? Guest has left the talk. Oh, no. I must not have looked down fast enough. Oh, come back, guest. I'll look down. And if anyone wants to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And if you are on Noom Vibe, just ask to join the stage. And I promise to look down. I'll put it over here. Yeah. And so, and what do you do when someone when someone wanted to say something or wanted to make a comment? The truth is, it wasn't supposed to happen. Nothing wrong with them, nothing wrong with me. Whatever is happening in this universe, whatever is happening happens. And this, I can't speed it up. I can't stop it from happening. I can't make it happen, and I cannot make it not happen. I don't have that kind of power in this realm, but what I can do is recognize who I really am. And that is a remembering When I remember I am not my ego, I am not my thoughts, I am not my stories, it seems that time slows down, everything eases up. There is a relaxed state that if I can feel it, you can feel it. Let's get back to the stories. One, and I just realized that I stopped in the middle. One of the stories that Billy Carson was telling is that when he went through this connection with aliens, if you will, he lost his family. That's how he said it. He said, "I lost my family." Some of them chalked it up to, you need help. But one of the people that he lost was one of his sons. He said to this day, it's been decades. I think he said over 2 decades that he hasn't talked to his son. His son is fearful, afraid, it just does not want any contact with him. This is my point. But you see how the story comes? He doesn't want to have contact with me because of what I went through. He's afraid. He's not accepting. I mean, everybody isn't going to sit up here and say, "Oh yeah, you had an experience with aliens and let's just keep it moving." You might get a little pushback on that. I would have given you pushback. And in fact, I remember back in the day, what was the name of that actress who was way out there? Uh Way out there. She's got short hair, red hair. Shirley MacLaine. I think it's Shirley MacLaine. Anyway, she was way out there, way before her time. And I remember thinking she was a nut. Oh, she's a nut. Of course, that was decades ago too. So there's always levels. There's levels of understanding. So back to the story that he said he lost his family, lost his son. His son doesn't talk to him, and he started crying. Billy Carson started crying, and I'm thinking to myself, the truth is there is a story attached to why the son doesn't talk to him after decades. And he shared it that the son is afraid. The son thinks that I'm a nut. Whatever the reason is, whatever, scratch that. Whatever the story is, you follow me? Whatever the story is, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Holding on to those stories with one perspective. The truth is, here we go. The truth is, if I'm not talking to someone, whether it's family, whether it's my only son, whether it's my best friend, it's only because it's not time to talk to them. It's not time to interact. It's not time to have a relationship, if at all. I'm having a relationship with everybody that I need to have a relationship with. You follow that? Whoever is in my life is supposed to be in my life without a story attached as to why. I have to get Arrowhead to sponsor the show. Arrowhead Spring Water. I really would like, well, practice sitting with this. Practice sitting with letting go of telling your story. But see, the ego isn't going to like it. The ego is going to say, I know why this is happening. I know why this happened. It's because blip, 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 blip. And all I'm telling you is that that with every story that you swallow, with every story that you believe, you're going to be birthing more stories. There is not one story that leads to, because all stories are authored by the ego, there is not one story that leads to peace. There is not one story that leads to contentment. The truth is, whoever is in your life, whoever you are communicating with, that's part of the plan. That is part of the journey. That is part of your of the journey. And if someone is not around, it's not because of a story. There's a gentleman, and if you want to speak with me live, and if you're on Noon Vibe, just ask to join the stage. I'm looking down now. And if you want to call in and speak with me, the number to call is area code 646-564-9619, area code 646-564-9619. And I am live on my YouTube channel. Woo-hoo! With my favorite Oregon t-shirts. I have about 10 Oregon t-shirts. I digress. Let's get back to the stories. Can you imagine from now until the last breath, from now until forever, you did not attach a story? See, the ego is going to fight you on this. The ego is going to tell you, I know why something happened. I can justify why I'm thinking this way. I have evidence of an outcome. And I'm here to tell you they're just more suitcases to put down. There's more suitcases not to carry. These stories are, number one, not true. Number two, feed the ego. Number three, become an addiction. One of my favorite authors and speakers is Guy Finley, Guyfinley. He's in Oregon, and my favorite quote that he says, "The feel is real. Why you are feeling something, or you're feeling whatever." I even practice not labeling my feelings. Just I'm feeling. I'm human, and with being human means that I just feel a myriad of things, from to you see, there's no label. Rage to calmness, from to so because I'm human, I'm going to feel all of that. The feel is real, but the why I'm feeling a certain way is a lie. The feel is real, the why is a lie. Isn't that genius? I love that saying. That's from Guy Finley. The feel is real, but the why is a lie. What does that mean? Not only the stories about why I'm feeling a certain way, but why someone behaved a certain way. Especially, it's not you. I'm thinking that I know why someone else is behaving a certain way. That means, number one, I'm in their skin. I their perspective is my perspective. This remaining open and letting go of stories is a game changer. And it's not easy. Monitor, practice, asking yourself, is this true? In fact, Byron Katie, Byron, Byron, it's a woman, and she has, you can Google her, and she has, in fact, let's see, she has Byron. Oops. She has these 4 questions, the work questions. Let's see if I can do this at the same time. That would be so cool. I can. Oh my goodness. I am looking forward to having a producer, though. I'm really a producer, director, somebody that's going to be handling these boards and these keys and these phones. And oh, I can't wait for the day if that's supposed to happen. Universe. Okay, Byron Katie, these are her questions. Ask yourself, when you hear a story or when you have these thoughts in your head or the stories, ask yourself these 4 questions. Is it true? And you can only answer yes or no for the first 2 questions. The story that you're telling yourself, the thoughts that you have, number 1 is, are they true? You can either answer yes or no. And that'll give you a moment to pause. Is what I'm believing, is this story true or not? 99.9% it's not true. The second question is, can you absolutely be sure? Can you absolutely, positively, unequivocally know and believe that this is true? You can only answer yes or no. So you're doubling down right off the bat whether or not these stories in your head, the thoughts in your head, are true. And then the third question is, how do you react and how do you believe? And what do you believe and how do you feel when you believe that that thought is true? And who would you be who would you be without that thought? So backing up to the stories. And if you're on and if you're on Noom Vibe, if you want to join the stage, I like company because I'm about to wrap up the show. It is a habit. It is an addiction. It is endless of believing and anchoring and attaching a story to every experience and every situation and giving an explanation. And I'm here to tell you to practice something different. If you want to experience more peace and more contentment, practice something different. What do you want? What do you mean? Practice what, Rebecca? Number one, accept the fact that your ego is taken over, that has kidnapped you and taken you over, that has possessed you, is possessing you with the stories and the thoughts. Number two, ask, are these thoughts, are these stories true? Number three, practice witnessing. Practice witnessing the entity that is telling the story. So in other words, step back, step step behind. I like to say you're in the audience. You're at a theater and you're in the audience. And you're looking on stage and the story, there's drama and there's sadness and there's ups and downs, but you're in the audience. You're not part of the show, but you're watching the show. And so the practice is just to watch and observe the drama that is the stories, the thoughts that are the stories. And that person in the audience, there is someone even behind someone. There is an entity that cannot be defined or explained. That is even beyond the witness. That is even beyond the witness that is witnessing the drama on stage. That entity that is beyond the witness, that's who we all are. That's who we are. We're not the drama on the stage. We're not the audience. We are beyond. And when you remember, scratch that, when you practice remembering that, the peace, the contentment, the ease, the journey is going to start to flow like you would not believe. The flowing of it all. And then the other practice is to live in an energy state of neutrality, where you are watching, you are witnessing all that's what's happening. You're experiencing all of it, even the emotions, even the rage. You're watching it though. You're not in it. You're not in the world. There's a difference between living in it and observing it and watching it. Which do you think is going to bring more peace? And again, it's a practice. All right. Going once, going twice. No one wants to join the stage? I want to wrap up. I want to end with this only because sometimes people come in late. But I think this is a powerful story. A young gentleman said that I'm thinking about changing my name because, or changing my branding, changing my name, changing my brand, because I just found out that my name is a slave name. And I said this at the beginning of the show, but I just wanted to repeat it. I think it's very powerful. So now you're allowing a word to affect, to dominate, to be in charge of your vibration, of your energy, of contentment or discontent. And who is going to be a slave to a word, to a name? And if one name is, if you're going to be bothered by one word or one name, you're going to be bothered by another one. The practice is words innately do not have power. So the practice is letting go of all of this power that we've been programmed to believe that words have power. They do not. Energy, yes. And then I get thrown at me, well, remember that science tested the snowflakes, and then they kept saying hate, hate, hate. And then they said love, love, love. Well, that they said it with an energy behind it. It was the energy, because they could have used any word. The energy is the power. And when you realize that you are the energy and you are that powerful, guess what? You are going to experience more peace and more contentment regardless of what happens. And that is my definition of happiness, the ability to vibrate an energy of peace regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen. The practice is to live in the moment. Practice living in the moment. All stories are from the past or the future. Past or the future. That's not the present moment. You're not going to experience the most peace in the present moment when you're living in the past or you're living in the future and you have a story about the past and a story about the future. Practice witnessing yourself, how often these stories take you over. How often do the stories and the thoughts dominate? And know that they're not dominating the real you. God cannot be dominated with a story. And we're consciousness having a human experience. Whew. Also, Programmed for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth, is out on Amazon now. Oh. And in the book, I list 55, actually 56, 55 program behaviors that are actively subtracting from your happiness. And there are different levels. Level 1, level 2, level 3. And level 3, as you would imagine, just depends on what level you are in. I mean, I'm not going to give a calculus test to a second grader. Well, I would, but that's another story. Just to watch them go crazy. What's that? Oh my goodness, she's terrible. She's terrible. She has a horrible sense of humor too. Horrible. She's so mean. By the way, the universe is strengthening me up, is powering me up, because in Program for Unhappiness, the book is about self-responsibility and not including any other person or any other reason for your unhappiness. Your unhappiness, your discontent, your blame, your worry, your complaining, your negativity has nothing to do with the world. It has something to do with what you see, what you believe about you in the mirror. You see why I don't have any friends? Well, that's all for today's show. Thank you for listening. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. And now Reality Spirituality is also, well, it's not Reality Spirituality. It's mother and son making sense out of nonsense, plus more, every Saturday at 9:15 live on my YouTube channel, Rebecca Norrington. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon. And the book that is out now, it's just been out less than a month, maybe a month now, Programmed for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth. And in that book, I've got 56 program behaviors that you really want to experience more happiness. And again, when I say happiness, it is an energy, it is a vibration. It is nothing to do with what you accomplish. No, Jim Carrey, happiness is not giving. What I'm talking about is sustaining a foundational energy vibration that is rooted in peace, and it never leaves. So whatever the world throws at you, whatever the storms, and there are going to be storms, you know that, I know that. Until next week, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. Your conscious energy, which is always evolving, always changing, always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Accept yourself, accept the journey in every moment. Be your own best friend. And remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. That's a quote from Abraham Hicks. Happiness is a practice skill. And you've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, happiness specialist Rebecca L. Norrington. I promise you, when you practice, when I say happiness is a practice skill, inner peace is a practice skill, contentment is a practice skill. It is all about what you prioritize, what you're committed to, what you think is important. What are you practicing? Practice letting go of those stories. Your experience in all moments reflects on what you practice. Thank you for listening. Speaking real.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
Well, that was fun. And now I'm going to run.